Are your product ideas failing because you're actually way too ambitious?
Or, honestly, are you just clinging to a B-plus idea out of blind hope? Look, this hits right at the core pain point for pretty much anyone building a product today. You pour your literal life into a launch, and then it just fizzles out. Why does that happen? Well, the answer is usually buried in how you define innovation versus how your actual consumer defines it.
To figure this out, we're deconstructing a recent Masterclass interview with Mark Pincus. Think about this. How did Mark create 8 massive hits out of 10 launches at Zynga? Let that sink in. An 8 out of 10 hit rate is practically a statistical anomaly in consumer tech. And he didn't do it by relying on some wild, unproven genius. Not at all. He followed a remarkably strict chronological framework to systematically strip away risk.
Let's dive right into the foundational metric here. Pincus argues that as a product maker, your human gut instincts, that spidey sense that there's a latent demand for something, are actually right 95% of the time. But the specific ideas you layer on top of those instincts, they're wrong 75% of the time. So your very first job is to learn how to isolate your nearly flawless instinct from your highly flawed execution.
And that's exactly what the proven, better, new framework does. Pincus absolutely insists that before you try to innovate, you first have to get a PhD in what is already proven. Like if you're building a new camera app, you don't reinvent the shutter button, right? You legally, perfectly copy the proven, best-of-breed mechanics from Apple or Snapchat. You take the proven entirely off the table so you don't end up failing for completely avoidable reasons.
Okay, so once you've mastered the proven, you move to better. But what does better actually mean in the real world? It definitely doesn't mean a sweeping, visionary overhaul. It means finding a tiny incremental polish where literally 10 out of 10 existing users look at it and say, fuck yeah. Take Words with Friends, for example. Fundamentally, it was just Scrabble. But their intense, hyper-polished mobile execution was the exact better that drove 14 million daily active users.
Finally, we reach new. This is your novel, back-of-the-box idea that gets people to download the app in the first place. Sticking with Words with Friends, their new was instantly connecting to the Facebook social graph. But here is the brutal reality you have to accept. Going in, you must assume this new variable will likely fail. It's really just a hook to get people through the front door.
Which brings us to this fascinating concept of moral arbitrage. Pincus points out that founders constantly resist the proven stage because, well, we're taught that copying is cheating. It stings the ego. But moral arbitrage is the willingness to copy proven mechanics to win the hearts of your actual consumers. Think about it. Your goal is to win over nurses in Indiana who just want a seamless experience, not to win shiny industry awards or impress your peers.
And this leads us to a pretty harsh reality check. Kill hope before hope kills you. So many founders just stoically stick with losing ideas based on pure hope. But hope is simply confidence without a data-backed basis. You need to collect winnings, not make blind bets. If you're sitting around trying to convince yourself that your product is a true A, then guess what? It's not an A. We've got to stop trying to justify B-plus ideas. Moving into the execution phase, your testing speed has to be absolutely ruthless. Instead of using AI to dangerously build one monolithic idea over 3 months, which, let's be honest, is usually just a faster way to build the completely wrong thing, you should be using AI as a high-speed failure machine. Your goal should be to test 100 granular ideas a single day. You actually want to build it completely wrong before you know it's right, just to harvest rapid, raw signal from the market. Let me show you exactly what that testing looks like in practice. If we chronologically break down the Farmville English countryside expansion test, the team was handed a massive $10 million ad budget. But instead of just buying external ads, Pincus forced them to repurpose that entire budget into native ad tests right there on the game board. They offered early access keys just to see which visual variants actually generated real heat. And the exact financial outcome of that native test? It was wild. It unexpectedly resulted in $19 million in early access keys sold. By testing inside the product instead of relying on external marketing hope, they took what was supposed to be a marketing expense and turned it into a massive revenue driver, all before the expansion even fully launched.
But what happens when you abandon this grounded framework and get a little too ambitious? Just look at Pincus's Earth project failure. This was a 20-year overarching metaverse ambition. It had 4 solid years of recent, dedicated development, with $25 million heavily invested. But because he was too ambitious and skipped finding a humble product-market fit first, he ultimately had to pull the plug completely.
The ambition literally blinded the testing process.
The absolute crucial point here is knowing what metrics actually indicate a sustainable hit. You can completely forget about virality. Day 365 retention is the only metric that dictates ultimate valuation. Companies that are obsessed solely with viral growth, they're driving sinking speedboats. They're literally just trying to drive faster to outpace the water filling the hull, instead of doing the hard work to plug the hole with genuine long-term attention.
To scientifically plug that hole, Zynga engineered a brilliant Easter egg metric called ASN, or Active Social Network. ASN measures the deep, round trips of interaction. Think of things like you taking a turn, a friend taking a turn back, or mutual gifting. It is an incredibly granular predictor of whether someone is actually weaving your product into their daily social fabric.
Mapping out the hard data makes this crystal clear. Moving a user from an ASN of 0 to just 1 yields an 80% chance they'll return the next month. But get this, if you can push them to an ASN of 4, there is an 80% chance they will return 22 out of the next 30 days. That right there is the mechanical secret to securing day 365 retention.
Okay, it's time for our core review. Let's lock in the hard, quantified facts we've unpacked in this explainer today. Zynga achieved an 8 out of 10 hit rate by relying on the fact that human instincts are 95% accurate, while layered ideas are mostly wrong. Their strict definition of better requires a 10 out of 10 user approval rating. Their native game board test drove $19 million in pre-sales, and abandoning this framework for pure ambition, that cost $25 million on the Earth project.
Bringing it all together, here is today's takeaway. This is the single bottom-line logic you must apply to your own work. True innovation requires absolute mastery of what is proven before adding a single new variable. You simply haven't earned the right to innovate until you have a PhD in what already works.
Now I want to pull you into the hardcore debate. It is time to take a definitive stance based on the data we just covered. Is copying a proven product's core mechanics a stroke of moral arbitrage genius that saves you from failing for all the wrong reasons? Or is it a guaranteed path to eventual consumer rejection? Is it brilliant, or is it a trap?
Drop your thoughts on the hardcore debate down below. Seriously, leave a comment with your stance and I'll send you today's complete tool list and the exclusive mind map detailing this entire explainer framework. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you down in the comments.